Hello, my little ninjas. My name's Mike. This is my YouTube page, Mox News, and welcome to your Wake and Bake News at 7 p.m. I'm your host, Moxie. We are running a minute or two late tonight. I have no excuse. I mean, I can come up with lots of excuses. It's one of those days. We lost power. And then they said we weren't going to get power back until Tuesday. And I was like, what? But we got the power back on and, running to make things happen. So we got it. I have some videos for you tonight, of course. And it is call-in show, so if you'd like to call, the helpful number is right there on the screen. This is about, trying to bring people together to have a conversation. The woke people, I don't know. I really don't know the woke people. I don't know whether or not they want to have a conversation. I don't know. It doesn't seem like they want to have a conversation. I don't know what it is that their plan is. I don't know, what their goals are. I don't know. I don't really understand anything about, is this not coming through okay? Because it says audio stream current bit rate 0. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Let's see. What's it say over here? It says, you're in time. Thank you, Jockey Cat. Okay, so where were we? We were talking about the woke. And, I would love to be part of the woke. I would love to be... I want everyone to be part of the woke. I want, I want us to move forward together, making things happen. It doesn't seem like the woke is about people coming together. It seems like it doesn't seem like it's about freedom of expression or I'm just confused about the whole thing. I don't know what the priority of the woke people is. I don't know what it is they've accomplished yet. I don't know what they intend to accomplish. Now, I don't mean to put all this on top of them either. I mean, when we look at the anti-war movement, in the 60s, the anti-war movement may have accomplished something. In the 60s, in the 70s, there was a lot of people in the streets, and in the 70s they ended the war, the Vietnam War. So, maybe they had. I can tell you, in 2000, when it was obvious that they were trying to go to war with Iraq, that there was millions of people in the street, and they were in the street for more than a year, marching, protest, rallies, demonstrations, and not to invade Iraq. And there was Congress people there was all kinds of people there, and celebrities, everything, and they're like, this is bullshit, it's all based on lies, and it did absolutely no good. So the peace movement, the anti-war movement in the last 20 years has not accomplished anything, really, which is incredibly sad. It's because we all have these little movements. And instead of us all joining together to have this thing where it's unstoppable, where you listen to us or you get ground up and spit out. And unfortunately, we have these little groups, that are trying to say, no, you listen to what I say. No, you listen to what I say. I just want the people. I guess this is the problem, is that people can't come up with an agreement on anything. This is why I keep saying that we have to recognize the real enemy, right? The real enemy is not each other. The real enemy is not the unwoke. The real enemy is in Washington, D.C. The real enemy is the people responsible for sending us barreling head first into extinction. Okay? And that's the U.S. government. Okay? I mean, the Saudi government might have a little bit to do with it. You know, the Chinese government might have a little bit to do with it. Basically, it's all about giving the corporations all the power that they can use. You know, pollute, kill, doesn't matter, maim, you know, oh, we'll have a little lawsuit, addict people, we'll have a little lawsuit, and the people who were addicted won't get a fucking thing out of it. It's messed up, you know, the whole world, but it's because we're not together in a group. We're in little tiny groups where they're pretty much meaningless. They're pretty much just pointing a finger at each other, saying, you're the problem, you know. And you're not the problem. You're not. The problem is these little tiny groups that you have yourself divided into. Instead of being we the people, you're like, we this little tiny group of people. Instead of being we the people, all the people who have all the power when we come together. I saw this clip about Chappelle and you know, this thing about the you know, the woke, and I don't even want to put this on the woke, you know, because to go after a comedian for saying something is very 1950s of you, right? You see all these like woke people who want to express themselves, who won't limit anyone expressing themselves. When someone else comes along who wants to express themselves and it's not perfectly aligned with what these people's beliefs are, they're not allowed to express themselves anymore. And this is the thing, this is what I'm talking about, it's all coming together, right? You know, oh, the woke people are like, you can't say Dave Chappelle. I have no idea what Dave Chappelle said. None whatsoever. Well, I understand that it was about transgender people, I guess. I don't know for sure. But that's about all I know about what he said. Now, what I can tell you is that you know, comedians, their job is to push the limits of free speech. And I know it's hard to understand. No, comedian's job is to make us laugh. No, it's not. Okay, if you look historically back at you know, like the jester in the castle, the jester could get away with saying things and making fun of the king that no one else could do, right? It's like Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart was on it, man, during the Iraq War, during all this stuff. He was there. He was saying things that no one else in the media for 1 second had the balls to say. But he would say every day that he's a comedian, you know. He's just a comedian. And this is just what I'm saying. There was a comedian in the 60s called Lenny Bruce. And he used to get arrested all the time. He had this one line of dialogue where he would talk about the word fuck, and he would talk about how it's really a beautiful word, you know, because if you take it from its direct meaning, you know, it's like there's two people sharing pleasure and passion, and you know, fuck, it's a nice word, right? You know, I like to say, you know, I may not be as pretty as I like to believe I am, but I am sexy like fuck, because this is the positive thing. And again, I'm not saying something negative about myself. I'm saying I'm sexy like fuck. You know, fuck is very sexy. I am sexy like that. Lenny Bruce used to get arrested all the time. He would say these things. He would be like, "Oh, fuck is a beautiful word," and you know, and it was shocking to people in the 50s and the 60s, right? And the cops would come in and they'd arrest him for some kind of decency, fucking bullshit laws, you know. There's a movie with Dustin Hoffman called Lenny, and Dustin Hoffman does a pretty good job of Lenny Bruce. So if you want to know the Lenny Bruce story, the movie Lenny is not bad. It's okay. So you know, the jester, the court jester, the comedian. The comedian is not there to make you laugh. The comedian says funny things, but it's really observational. It's there to, instead of like shocking you and pushing you to think about these things, they say something funny and it gets in your head and you go, makes you think, besides laugh. And this is the beautiful thing, you know, like I said, Jon Stewart, Dave Chappelle. I mean, there's an endless list of people, right? And of comedians, excuse me, who push limits. What was that redhead's name who used to do she did the New Year's Eve show with Anderson Cooper on CNN. She did it for years. Kathy, what was her name? Kathy something. And she did like a work of art with photos, right? She's a comedian, and she did like a photo shoot where she had a severed head of Donald Trump. I'm pretty sure she was holding a severed head of Kathy Griffin. There you go. And she had severed head of Donald Trump, and she got just ostracized. Like, she is nowhere to be found anymore, because you don't do that with the president of the United States. You just act like he's a giant piece of shit and and do everything you can to vilify him and act as if he's a criminal because you don't like him if you're the news media. But you can't say anything fucking, you can't go, that's crossing the line to put his head on a pike. All of their heads belong on a pike. Not really. They belong in prison. They all belong in prison. Okay? That's all there is to it. And if we could just come together, I think there's a chance we could make things like that happen, right? There's lots of people out there that would like to see Obama in prison, right? Well, I'd like to see Bush and Cheney in prison. So I'll tell you what, I'll give you Obama. Really, I'd like to see Obama in prison pretty much just as much as Bush and Cheney. All of them. I want them. You don't understand. It's not just like, oh, he wants Bush and Cheney to go to prison. No, I want them all to go to prison, including Tulsi Gabbard, including Ron Paul, every politician for the last 20 years, right? Every member of Congress, every politician in the White House, pretty much half of the aides, you know, the presidential aides, the people, the secretaries, half of the fucking Pentagon, prison for all of them. That's what I want. It's not like, oh, you want Bush to go to prison. No, I want them all to go to prison. It isn't a partisan thing. It isn't a political thing. It's the right thing to do. And I like to think of this country as sometimes doing the right thing. You know, it'd be really nice if we could believe that sometimes, every once in a while, this country actually did the right thing. I don't know. I'm kind of a dreamer, so good chance I'm just like, you know, in La La Land, because I like La La Land. I intend to spend lots and lots of time in La La Land. But when I'm talking, it's really not what I intend to do. When I'm speaking with you, it may seem like, you know, I laugh and have a good attitude. But this is the thing. This comes back to this comedy thing, you know. I am laughing to try and keep things not too heavy. Actually, I'm laughing because I like to laugh. That's the truth, folks. I'm laughing because it's fucking easier going through life laughing than crying. So I'm going to play this video now about the woke. And I'm going to go make me a cup of tea. I'll be back. And then we'll have a fat fucking bong hit, okay? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you want to call, the number's right there on the screen. 805-669-6397. 805-MOX News. Be right back.
Okay, I just can't believe what I heard this weekend. Is it me, or did former President Barack...
How do we go from a country where the people rule, the freedom that comes with all of that, and a society that values the rule of law, to become a society that is intolerant of...
Sorry, I launched the wrong video there. So I will launch the right video now. Actually, the second one I launched was the right video, but I wanted to restart it because I wanted to make sure you know that, well, actually, he said something at the beginning, and I was afraid that it became muddy because of the other video. So I want to play that again. Here we go. Be right back.
Well, we have an appropriate Halloween villain this year. What would you get if...
I did it wrong again. Oh my God, what is wrong with me? How high are you? Okay, here we go.
How do we go from a country where the people rule, the freedom that comes with all of that, and a society that values the rule of law, to become a society that is intolerant of debate, accepting of complete government control, and a nation that accepts a double standard when it comes to the law? Now, if you said the culprit is the American left and collectivist thought, you'd be right. But understanding how the Socialist Democrats have managed to mangle our once proud republic is key to understanding how we take it back. The left attacked America with a three-pronged approach. Of course, they infected government, they corrupted our schools, and they also co-opted our culture. We're all Dave Chappelle. That's the focus of tonight's preamble. Before I get started, I want to make it perfectly plain that this is not an endorsement of Dave's particular brand of humor. I think he's funny, but I'm partial to comedians like Eddie Murphy, Jeff Dunham, Richard Pryor, Bill Cosby, before we all knew what Bill Cosby was about, and guys like Seinfeld, just to name a few. Just because I'm not a Dave Chappelle fan, though, doesn't mean that I don't support his ability as an American to put on a show and say what's on his mind through a comedic lens. See, I'm a conservative. I have values that say, I may not agree with what you say or how you say it, but I'll defend to the death your right to say it. Left-wing lunatics, well, they have a different sensibility, being dictatorial by nature. They want to be the gatekeepers of what can and cannot be said. Now, I got an email from a viewer who wanted me to stop using the term butthurt. They were a little frustrated because they didn't know what the term meant. If someone is butthurt, they exhibit an exaggerated and inappropriately strong and negative response to a real or perceived insult or slight. This term applies to left-wingers because they often claim to be offended as a mechanism to claim victimhood status. It's why the left is offended by anything and everything. Then they use their fake victimhood status to claim they're above criticism or derision. Often, butthurt people are professional victims. They always use their victimhood to advance left-wing extremist thought. Dave Chappelle's Netflix comedy special that does poke fun at transgenders provides us with a perfect case study into the mind of a deranged liberal. Now, after Netflix defended Chappelle's right to poke fun at anybody, professional victims who worked at Netflix, they walked out. And when someone showed up to that protest showing support for Dave Chappelle, well, here's what happened.
Why is he breaking my sign? Why is he breaking my sign? Don't have free speech rights? Don't have free speech rights for all of you? I'm just here to say that jokes are funny, people. Dave Chappelle, a funny guy. I love.
All right, this white guy shows up having a different point of view that runs afoul of the modern butthurt left, and they destroy his property, they get physical with him, and then shout him down with expletives. By the way, that white guy was supporting Dave Chappelle, a black man. And all of those left-wing lunatics, they lost their minds. It looked like a Klan rally. Couldn't we call those left-wing nuts racists using their own standards? Anyway, This whole movement of censorship by the totalitarian socialist left has got traditional liberals like Bill Maher a little concerned.
Can we have an honest, free discussion about this?
Many people don't think so, but
Right. Many people, that's what bothers me to begin with, that there is this is what I call the one true opinion. Very apropos of your religion theme, John. There is the one true opinion, and there isn't. There isn't just one true opinion. I'm a free speech guy. Now, I'm Team Dave, but that doesn't mean I'm anti-trans. We can have two thoughts in our head at the same time.
It's gotten so bad in America that socialist Democrats have proclaimed that opposing views of their doctrine cannot be spoken. And the socialists have called off debate altogether. YouTube and degenerates in the biased press have proclaimed that man-made global warming is no longer up for debate. It's settled science. If some folks insist that one eligible voter cast only one vote in an election, they are accused of suppressing the vote. And if you make fun of the left wing's current professional victim class, well, you deserve to be canceled.
I'm not transphobic if I merely disagree with you. It's not hate. I mean, here's what one of the reactions from someone who worked at Netflix said: this is not an argument with two sides. Well, right away you lost me. It is an argument with trans people who want to be alive and people who don't want us to be. Well, that's just ridiculous. Dave Chappelle does not want you to not be alive.
Amen.
It's just, you know, you're not automatically right if you're trans.
But that's the predicate that we are being asked to accept and adopt here in America. We are being asked to accept that if someone is a victim, or claiming to be a victim, that they are a victim. And once they are a victim, they can do no wrong. But it goes so much deeper than all this, my friends, because this isn't about gay issues, Latino issues, black issues, Native American issues, or even trans issues. Because I can guarantee you that if a conservative trans person stood up there and said, hey, I think Dave Chappelle has every right to poke fun at anyone in his comedy routines, that trans person would be canceled too. Because that person wasn't claiming victimhood, nor was that person seeking to advance left-wing extremism in America by denying his or her fellow Americans their rights. The culture war is worth fighting because it lays the foundation for every other war we're going to fight in the future. At bottom, the left seeks to criminalize anyone who disagrees with them. So if you advocate for free speech, you're canceled. If you seek freedom from government coercion, you're canceled. If you simply want to poke fun at someone to make a bigger social commentary, you'd better only make fun of folks on the left-wingers' approved list, a list that's ever-changing and lacking in rhyme or reason. Andrew Yang, after going through a socialist primary for president, is seeking to start a third party. It looks like he's had enough of socialist politics, too. Yang said this about Chappelle's situation.
I think we can agree that comedians' primary role is to entertain, and it's sometimes to make us think. But no one thinks it's a comedian's role to tell us how to think or what to think, and attributing that role to Dave or any other comedian doesn't serve art, the artist, or society at all.
He's right. Unless we stop and reject the left and what they're trying to do by canceling their ability to impact our lives, America will descend into a bottomless pit of misery, lack of creativity, and darkness. And that's not going to be funny at all.
And absolutely screw you, mainstream media, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, CBS, and yes, you too, Fox.
All right. Takes a minute to make a cup of tea. Hold on. That's not the one we're looking for. Hold on. Not that one. That one. Hold on. All right, Bubba. Come on, up. Good job, buddy. That's his daily peanut butter cookie. He only gets a little piece. I give him about a quarter of a cookie. It's and I cut the butter in half, so he has his own cookies in the freezer. Huh, buddy? You're my good boy. You're my good boy, Boo Bear. All right, so where were we? Right, woke. The thing about the woke for me, right, is that, again, this is just one of these things that separate us from each other. You know, I don't know how organized they are. I don't know if they have any kind of leadership, which, you know, I don't necessarily like leadership. Generally, when someone steps up to say that they're the leader of this organization, most of the time the people in the organization don't even know who the fuck they are. We've seen this happen a lot over the last couple of years. I would like to, you know, if you're woke and you're organizing these events, you know, it seems like, you know, you be going out and feeding the homeless, because being woke is about making the world a better place, right? And again, this freedom of expression, you know, you see these people and they're like trying to drown out this other person's voice. And if you were to sit down and talk with them, I'm certain they would tell you how hard they fought to be the people that they want to be able to express themselves the way they want to express themselves. And now they're shutting down other people's freedom of expression because somehow they're offended by it, right? But if people were offended by their expression, their, you know, this is who I am, this is what I think, this is how I want to be, people were offended. Those people are horrible garbage, right? But they do it to other people, right? So I am, I would love to see these woke people, you know, doing things to make the community better, working towards, I don't know if they are, maybe they are, maybe they're going out and they're handing out sandwiches to homeless people. I don't know. I know that there are people who do, and I bet that a lot of the people in the woke would never even consider those people woke, although they might give them that if they saw them handing out sandwiches. But I bet if they talked to them on the street, had no idea who they were, like, man, that person. Right? But I tend to get that a lot, honestly, about the woke. I get this, you know, what's wrong with you? How can you think this way? You know, I've explained it many times. I'm a very simple guy. I just think with basic logic. I'm not talking about you know, quantum physics or anything. And I'm not interested. We have this basic point where we're at. You know, we have this really basic mission to accomplish at this point, which is the survival of the human race. I better have a bong yet. Yes, the survival of the human race needs to be our #1 goal at this time. Good luck with that. You would think, again, that if there was this woke organization, you know, that this is what they'd be sounding out at the top of their lungs, you know? The end is nigh! Or, you know, we're all gonna die. Or stop the extinction of mankind. It seems to me this should be our basic first goal. I mean, I really want war to stop. I really want politicians to go to prison. And this is a big part of why I want politicians to go to prison, is the reason that we are in this position of you know, the edge of human extinction. The reason that we're at the edge of human extinction is because of bad leadership. It's not because you or I was, you know, I don't know, foolish. It's because the people that we counted on to make sure that they were looking out for us and ours and protecting basically we the people in such a manner as to make sure that you know, our rivers aren't polluted, that we have drinking water, that we have, you know, oil wells that aren't going to explode and fucking put oil all over the beaches, you know, and on. Food's not poisonous or whatever, you know, which has nothing to do with raw milk. Don't give me that raw milk shit. It's and you know, most of all, the reason that is the job of the government is because it's not just us that are depending on having drinking water in the not too distant future, 20 years from now. It's not just us that are counting on having drinking water. And that's why things like that need to be protected, because they're not just because, you know, because we want to, you know, because we're green and we want to protect the forest or whatever. It's because we don't want the human race to go extinct. We want to. Drinking water is a necessity in order for humans to continue on this planet. And it's almost as if you have to explain it as if you're talking to children, because it seems like the politicians don't get it, right? Oh, drinking water, yeah, whatever. Let them eat cake. Cake is no substitute for drinking water. I like cake, especially if it's got like good frosting. Really like cake. It is no substitute for drinking water. I drink 2 gallons of water a day, currently, for a long time. And if I had to go down to a quart of water a day, it would be like I was dying. I would be in hell. So I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I know that now is all there is to make something happen. You know, making things happen in the future is a lie that people tell themselves in order to not have to think about what's going on right now. And what I'll tell you is, all there is now. If you want to make something happen, there is no, you know, next week I'm gonna write a book. I'm gonna start on my book next week. You know, it's now. Now is the time. Now is always the time. There is no other time than now. It's just imaginary, so you know. So why, if we're at this, you know, precipice of man's extinction, of humankind disappearing and taking every single living creature on the planet with it, and it's coming like a cannonball, you know? I just don't see the discussion. I mean, it's like time for discussion is long gone, right? There's not going to be any drinking water in like 5 or 10 years. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope. Because it's not just me. You know, it's not just me who drinks water every day. All right, I'm going to play another video because we have not gotten any phone callers. Craig said that he thought we had a caller, but he thinks it was a prank because he said hello and they said a wrong number and hung up. I think he doesn't say hello too. I think he says Mox News. Who's this? He does that announcer voice really well. Okay, so I'm going to play a video because we didn't get a bong hit ready. I want to get a bong hit ready. I was talking about woke. I was talking about, you know, the extinction of mankind. So let's go from woke to coke. How about that? From woke to Coke. Here we go. Be right back.
The soft drinks industry produces 470 billion plastic bottles every single year, designed to be used just once and then thrown away. Around a quarter of them are made by one company, Coca-Cola. Nearly 4 years ago, facing growing criticism, Coke came up with a plan to tackle their plastic pollution problem. But an investigation by the BBC's Panorama programme reveals that Coke are struggling to make the progress required to meet their promises. And in some places, particularly in some of the world's poorer nations, things are getting much worse. Our correspondent, Sophia Bettiza, has the story.
Here's refreshment you can enjoy quickly and conveniently.
In the 1950s, Coca-Cola was sold in glass bottles. The company would collect them, wash them, and reuse them.
These lighter plastic bottles take pounds off your shopping load.
By the 70s, Coke was promoting plastic.
Single-use plastic is just a massive money saver for all sorts of companies, including Coca-Cola. They use incredibly cheap plastic to make that packaging. They put it on the market and then it's job done, it's gone.
In the last 3 years alone, 156 billion of Coca-Cola's plastic bottles have been littered, burned or dumped. But Coke knew it had an image problem, so announced a plan to recycle more bottles, called World Without Waste. But if you look at the small print, there's an admission. Their bottles are only recyclable where infrastructure exists. This is the Pacific island of Samoa. In February, Coke stopped producing glass bottles here and started shipping in thousands of plastic bottles.
The population here in Samoa is only 200,000. We don't generate enough waste to have a recycling facility for plastic bottles here on the island.
Coca-Cola have set up a scheme to pay people $1 for every kilo of plastic bottles they collect. But so far, none has been exported for recycling. Halfway across the globe from Samoa is Uganda. Here, not enough bottles are being collected to meet Coca-Cola's recycling promises.
Coca-Cola says they will collect 1 bottle for each bottle they sell in Uganda, but they can never do that. They can never achieve it.
In the capital, Kampala, the recycling system largely depends on informal waste pickers. Most of them are single mothers with their children, earning around $1 a day.
Tosoma.
Yes, isoma.
Obuchupa obulondo obukozaamu ki?
Tubutungana ne tubutunda. Nzitwala waka.
Tuzitwala waka n'oziwa maama?
The whole bottled drink sector has a recycling problem. But Coca-Cola is by far the biggest company, selling 3,500 plastic bottles every second. And nearly 4 years after making their World Without Waste pledge, our investigation has revealed that Coca-Cola is struggling to make the headway required to meet their green goals.
Coca-Cola is an absolute master of greenwashing. Greenwashing is pretending that something is green when actually it is anything but green.
And evidence from Break Free from Plastic suggests that more plastic Coke packaging is littered than any other brand. Coca-Cola say they're making good progress but have a long way to go, that they're campaigning to encourage recycling in Samoa, and that they're working hard to help waste pickers. But if the biggest global plastic polluter doesn't reach its targets, the world's poorest will suffer even more. Sophia Bettiza, BBC News.
And how to deal with mountains of plastic will be just one of the agenda items at the UN Summit on Climate Change, which begins in Scotland next week. World leaders will descend on Glasgow, as well as the likes of Presidents Biden and Macron. Young champions of the environment will be there too. Our correspondent Phil Mackey has met a family with 8-year-old triplets who were chosen to represent the UK. Here's Phil's report.
Meet Britain's youngest official environmental champions out on their regular after-school litter pick.
I'm Betmy, I'm Whammy, and I'm Yumi, and we are the One Step Greener Ambassadors. Here I got a packet of blueberries, I think. I don't know what it is, but...
All right, I didn't think about those young people being children, and YouTube has a weird thing about putting children on video, and I don't want to, again, don't want to be fucking with the, I mean, look, we are actually, I am pushing the limits of YouTube on a regular basis. I have for a long, long time. But want to be careful with children. I didn't think about the children thing. They're adorable. They're doing the right thing. You know, it comes back to this woke thing. You know, I don't know. I don't know what the woke thing is about. I don't. Do they not drink out of plastic bottles? Do they not use Coca-Cola products? You know, because it seems like that would be a woke thing to do, is not to use Coca-Cola products, right? They said in that report that Coca-Cola manufactures 2,500 bottles per second. I have no idea how many fucking bottles is that a minute, right? That's a lot of fucking bottles. I'm gonna have a bong hit here if anybody wants to join me. I got caught off guard there a little bit because, again, I didn't think about the kids being in the video. It seems like the kind of thing that woke would be all over, right? Endlessly. You know, we have to save the world. And again, it's not the world like somebody was talking about the other day about how, you know, the world can repair itself. It only takes like 1 billion years or something. It's not a big deal. So it's not really save the world, and save all the little precious, beautiful animals of the world, right? You know, I have a video coming up about Dr. Fauci murdering puppies in the most heinous ways. Actually, tomorrow we're going to talk a lot about Dr. Fauci murdering puppies. Although we have talked about it in the past. Ready? Here we go. You know, they say that when you take a puff, like that, you don't have to hold it in because you kind of absorb everything. Like the moment it goes into your lungs, like everything it's going to get is out of it. The thing is, when I hold the puff in a little bit longer, the thickness of the smoke seems to dissipate. Like it's not as thick. It's not, you know, the smoke's just not as thick. So I don't know about the second it hits your lungs, you're not going to get any more. Oh, this weed. Oh my God, right? This came out of my garden right here. This is strawberry banana from, what is it? Fast Bud? No, what is it? Son of a bitch, shit. Anyways, I'll figure it out. A strawberry banana out of my summer garden, and it's just kicking my ass, right? Unbelievable. I'm like, holy shit. All right, so let's see. We were talking. That was a video about the Coca-Cola 2,500 bottles per second, plastic bottles. I don't know if this is something that the woke people talk about, you know, or they don't drink Coca-Cola. I don't know. I see them. It seems to be like an LGBTQ thing, right? Where you say the wrong thing about LGBTQs, whatever the other letters are, and these people, like, you know, I don't know, maybe it's a like attention thing, you know, like, oh look, we'll go and boycott Chappelle and everybody will talk about us. I'm confused by the woke movement. I mean, like, with the, you know, with the Occupy, right? The people were in the streets. They were talking. They were anybody. There was like people would just come up and they'd be like start a conversation. Not the Occupy people. The Occupy people were all like in this little park, and people would come up to them and they're like, "Hey, what is this about?" And they talk, you know, and they stayed there for months. It wasn't like, oh, today I'm woke and tonight I'm drinking fucking Coca-Cola by the 2-liter bottle. And they would go out and they do little marches. Some of them were gigantic marches, you know, and it went on for months. I mean, these people went into the middle of New York City, right? And they said, we now own this park. And they set up like 1,000 tents. And it was beautiful, and everyone was welcome, and it wasn't like, oh, you're not woke, you can't be here. If you want, you know, if you weren't there to cause trouble, everybody was welcome, you know, and that's the way it should be. I was talking about this earlier, you know, about like freedom of expression and you know how these woke people, I'm sure like a giant percentage of them will tell you that they fought for their freedom, you know, and that's good. I think we all kind of have to fight for our freedom, you know, and that may be the illusion of America, is that it's not just that you're given freedom, it's that you have to fucking actually fight for it. And so they will tell you that they fought for their freedom, and then they immediately try and shut down this other person's freedom when they don't appreciate the fact of, they don't appreciate what he or she is saying, or even more, they don't appreciate that person being a comedian, right? So I'm woke. I fought for me to be able to have this power, and now what? I'm going to shut down other people who are just, you know, trying to be themselves? Like, you fought to be yourselves. This person is a comedian fighting to be themselves. And the truth is, you know, they divide us into all these little groups, and it's like, you're the problem, you're the problem. It's not that hard to get over this, right? In the 70s, there was all these self-help books and, you know, Road to Enlightenment books. And I remember there was this saying, you know, you're okay, I'm okay. It's so simple, you know. I'm not here to judge you, okay? You're not here to judge. And if you're not here to judge me, I bet we can hang out and make shit happen. Whether it be a party or something amazing, you know, saving the earth, saving humanity, saving the orcas, saving the manatees. I don't know how there's not like this, how the entire human race doesn't prioritize saving the manatees. I don't know. I don't understand. You know, it's like we're watching them go extinct, and somehow I've made peace with that. What? Well, that's really nice for you. I'm so glad for you. So you go ahead and don't care. Okay? You know, I'm going through life. I'm watching, I'm witnessing, I'm experiencing, and I'm blown away by this. Maybe I have to do this. Maybe I have to be the one to save the manatees. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I need to just stop this bullshit and focus on saving the manatees. And the orcas. I really want to save the Puget Sound orcas too. So sad. I don't even know. I don't even think it's possible. Honestly. That doesn't mean we shouldn't try. That doesn't mean it shouldn't be a top priority. And unfortunately, we have bigger priorities like making war and spreading weapons of destruction around the world. How did we get here? This is not my beautiful house. This is not my beautiful wife. Actually, that's my beautiful Boo Bear. How did we get here? I watched South Park over the weekend. I watched a couple of episodes. It's so hard to find anything on TV, you know. And I was taking a moment, taking a break. It was a long weekend and made a lot of things happen. I was taking a break for a minute, and I sat down, looking on the TV guide. I can't find anything. South Park is on. I put it on South Park, and they have the Al Gore episode, like not the first Al Gore one, but when he comes back, like 20 years later. South Park has been making TV for like 25, 20, 22 or 23 years now, right? And Al Gore comes back 20 years later. And it's very, very interesting. And it's about you know, selling your souls. You know, selling the future generation's souls by not taking care of business today. You know, if you haven't seen it, I can't recommend it enough. Episode is called It's Time to Get Cereal. And the part 2 is called Nobody Got Cereal. So, because in the first episode with Al Gore, it was this, what was it? It was, I am super cereal right now. I am super cereal. If you haven't seen it, just a couple years old, and can't recommend it enough. And as pointed out to us by our good friend Pete from Rhode Island, Massachusetts, formerly from Rhode Island, who we haven't heard from for a couple weeks, he was noting that all of the South Park episodes are now currently available on the HBO Max channel, which means if you have HBO, you also have HBO Max, and there's a lot of cartoons. I was looking at their cartoons, and they have Looney Tunes from back in the day, like the 30s and the 40s and the 50s and the 60s. I think they saw a couple of ones that were a little newer than that. The Looney Tunes episodes, you know, the shorts are great up until about the 60s, like right around the mid 60s, maybe a little bit earlier than that. They just go to shit. I think they stopped making the animation or painting the animation or something inside the United States. They started shipping it out, and it just it changed completely. But they have 650 episodes are cartoons of Looney Tunes, you know, Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Porky Pig. And that's a pretty good collection. I actually have been thinking about recording it. And every single South Park episode, and they have a couple of the Looney Tunes. There's a Looney Tunes series that I love, which is The Looney Tunes Show. It stars Kristen Wiig and Fred Armisen and a couple other people who I bet you would know who they are. But it's really good. And I love the Looney Tunes. I've talked about this in the past. Bugs Bunny being one of my childhood heroes. So I do go on about cartoons, don't I? But that's part of the thing, you know. We were talking about Dave Chappelle and comedians not just being there to make people laugh. They're there to push the limits of freedom of speech. And Lenny Bruce and the court gestures from back in the day, that they could get away with saying things about the kingdom and the king that no one else could say because it was a joke and it was making people laugh. As long as it didn't cross the line, you know, other people get thrown in jail for saying stuff like that or get beheaded or worse, right? That being said, this must be a big part of the reason that I love cartoons, right? Is because I know, again, that they push the limits of free speech, and that they say things that other genres would not be able to get away with saying. Like, I remember a Simpsons episode where Homer becomes the beer baron of Springfield, right? And it was there was like this big, you know, push for prohibition of alcohol, right? And so Homer started making beer or whatever in his basement, and he had a speakeasy, and then he ran out of alcohol, and everybody wanted alcohol, right? And he's like, I don't have any right now. And a tube of caulking. They were doing something, they were trying to patch something up, and he had a tube of caulking in his hand. He said, how about some delicious caulk? And he held the caulking out. And I think that may have been the first time I've ever heard the word delicious caulk said on primetime television ever. Delicious caulk. How about some delicious caulk? Like, see, this is them being able to get away with stuff that other people can't get away. I don't know, but that's another example of pushing the limits of free speech, right? So I think that it all boils down to this really simple phrase that I brought up again and again and again. I'm okay, you're okay. You know, these LGBTQ people, the last thing they want is, I don't know, I mean, they all seem a little bit judgmental, you know, like you don't have the right haircut, you have, you know, whatever, right? You don't wear the right clothes, you don't wear the right cologne, who knows? But that's beside the point. But the point is, if you come from the standpoint of I'm okay, you're okay, I'm not here to judge you, you don't judge me, I don't want to judge you for who you are, who you want to be. And a big part of that is I don't want you to judge me. And it's not because I'm not judge worthy, okay? If there is a heaven, I can't wait to get there. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not about to stand in line. That being said, I don't want to judge people because I don't want to be judged, or that's part of why I don't want to judge people. Another part of why is because I don't know who they are, right? I don't know how they got here. I don't know what they've done, you know. And it's like with me. It's not that I don't want to be judged. It's that you're not worthy to judge me. So, you know, shove up your ass and go somewhere else and judge someone that maybe some other person who you think you're better than. Okay? I want to make things happen, you know, and I have, and I do. And I don't need someone to tell me whether it's right or wrong, what I do. I don't have time for it. And not only that, it's that it's like I'm on a mission, you know? I'm on a mission from God. And I may not know what that mission is, but I'm not going to concern myself for 1 second about how you think that mission should be convoluted because of your opinions. Again, you're not worthy to judge me. It's not that, and I'm not worthy to judge you. I'm not acting like somehow I'm above it. I'm not worthy to judge you. I don't know anything about you. I don't want to judge you. I don't want that to be who I am. I don't want that to be the world that I live in. So I'm not worthy, and I'm good with that, you know. So I think we should play another video because no one's calling, and I seem to just be rambling on about me going to heaven. And I'm one of God's favorites. It's funny because it's true, people. Okay, so let's talk about Anthony Fauci murdering puppies. Apparently, an extremely large amount of money has been spent by Anthony Fauci and the NIH, National Institute of Health, to do experiments on puppies. And like I said, we'll get into it a lot more tomorrow. But this touches on it a little bit. And I want to definitely have this discussion, if not today, tomorrow for sure. So something to put into your head. Again, they've been spending, the NIH, Anthony Fauci, a tremendous amount of money, basically murdering puppies in the most horrendous fashion you can imagine. Beagle puppies, in case anybody's, partial. Beagle puppies. And I mean, literally horrific, beyond horrific. And before they subject them to these horrific experiments, they do a surgery on them which cuts out their vocal cords so that they don't have to listen to the dogs cry. I'm going to play that video for you now. I'll be back in just a sec. But this is what we're going to talk about a lot tomorrow. And again, where are the woke people, right? I mean, this should be one of these priority things. Be right back.
Well, we have an appropriate Halloween villain this year. What would you get if Michael Myers mated with Regan from The Exorcist? COVID-fibbing puppy killer Dr. Anthony Fauci, that's who. The man who lied about U.S. taxpayer money funding gain-of-function research in Wuhan, then obfuscating every imaginable aspect of said research to squirm out of responsibility. He has been torturing and killing beagles to the tune of $2 million. Fauci and his cruel minions reportedly gave a Tunisian research lab $375,000 to let sand fleas slowly bite and kill the first batch of beagles over 22 months. In another vicious experiment, beagles were given chordectomies. Their vocal cords were slashed so researchers wouldn't have to hear their helpless cries. But then they were drugged up and killed and dissected. I'm not sure how torturing Snoopy is following the science, but the American Veterinary Medical Association and American Animal Hospital Association both categorically condemn the procedure. Never mind Fauci and friends mysteriously bankrolled gain-of-function research, lied about it, and potentially helped release a global pandemic that's already killed 5 million people. If it's the dog murder that gets people riled up, so be it. But for the record, I'm against all of it. I know, a very brave take. Now, 24 bipartisan lawmakers have penned a letter demanding answers from Fauci as to how on God's green and golden earth this particular sweet breed was subjected to torture at taxpayer expense. This is one of the many reasons why I am a libertarian. Government should not be doing most things, but especially overpaying a dog-hating monster to cloak himself in sainthood, fudge numbers, kill grandmothers and puppies, and demand mass gratitude. Let me guess, these dogs were asking for it, just like the Americans trying to leave Afghanistan who were told to shelter in place and trust the Taliban. No one is allowed to use pages from this disgusting playbook that robs taxpayers, kills innocents, and accepts zero responsibility that in any other realm would mean prison time. Screw it. Don't just fire Fauci. Lock him up. And that's the memo. Politicians aren't the only ones who are angry, so are dog owners and anyone with a beating heart in their chest. In fact, the hashtag #ArrestFauci has been trending on Twitter since news of the experiments broke. People don't mess around with dogs. So should we really listen to the medical advice of somebody who would kill or torture your puppy? Let's meet tonight's party panel. We've got the host of the Guy Benson Show on Fox News Radio and townhall.com political editor. Guy Benson is here, looking dapper as ever. Former State Department deputy spokesperson and Fox News contributor, friend of Guy Benson and mine, Marie Harf, and director of the Libertarian Institute, where liberty lives. I don't know if that's their motto, but I really like it. Scott Horton is back. Welcome, everyone. Good to talk to you. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, Kennedy.
So, Guy, I will start with you. I heard whispers of this from our friend Brad Palumbo, who has a beagle. And he said, I can't believe that Dr. Fauci would kill my Reggie. And I didn't know what that meant at first, and then started digging a little deeper into it, and then the story has since exploded. What strikes you about it?
Well, Kennedy, you have met Roy, our dog, a Bedlington Terrier. I'm a dog owner, a dog lover, and you sort of hit the nail on the head in the monologue and sort of the introduction to this conversations. If you really want to unite people in fury, mistreat animals, puppies in particular. And I don't exactly know, and I think we still need to find out precisely what the role was of Fauci or this money. Did they know what was happening? I mean, it's the details. I started reading the story. I had to stop reading. It bothered me so much. Obviously, there's a bipartisan outcry over this. We need a lot more questions asked and many more answers from this man, not just on the dog and puppy issue, but on the gain of function sort of weaselly quasi-denials that have shifted away from the categorical denials. This man's credibility is not looking hot at the moment.
No, it is in shreds. So, Marie, why are people so mad at Dr. Fauci?
Well, I don't think it's in shreds, and I think a lot of people are using Dr. Fauci as a political punching bag. He was clear that what he believes Rand Paul was referring to is not, in this congressional hearing, is not gain of function. He said unequivocally today, Kennedy, that that behavior that Paul was referring to in no way scientifically could have ever contributed to the COVID-19 virus escaping.
I would be very, very careful with your hyperbole and saying things like "no way" or "ever." When
well, that's what he said. That's what he said, Kennedy. And so what I am saying to you
researchers
is
and
Dr. Fauci is
virologists
a public servant.
Yeah, I know he's covering his own ass, saying it's molecularly
Kennedy.
impossible. But yes, go ahead.
He did. He is a public servant who for decades and in these past 2 years has been working tirelessly as we've learned more about COVID-19 to protect the American people. He's been learning about this virus as all of us have been. And so this attempt to smear him, particularly by the right because they don't like COVID restrictions, is one of the most depressing parts of all of this to me. This attempt to smear public health officials
that's
like
a good point.
Fauci.
And I appreciate how you completely sidestepped the issue of outrage about these dogs being tortured and killed. But I think that's why you're seeing such bipartisan outrage here. It's not just Republicans who don't like COVID restrictions who really want to move to Florida. It's people like Steve Cohen and Ted Lieu, not exactly Republican bellwethers, who are disgusted by what they've found out. And if that's what brings Fauci down, I don't have a problem with it, Scott Horton.
Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, the dog thing is important because it goes to show where these government officials at the highest level, even if they're not personally psychopaths, they adopt this identity, you know, of justification of everything, that the ends justify the means. So look at the way they treated the people of Yemen for the last 6.5 years. You know, helping the Saudis carpet bomb them daily this whole time for nothing. But they just justify it that, well, this is part of our Middle East policy, you know. And this is the exact same thing. And it goes to show, too, that this is the kind of mindset that would fund gain-of-function research, which is, you know, inside the community there, in the germologist community, they all agree this is very dangerous stuff. and that they're playing with fire when they do it. There's all kinds of criticism inside the scientific community about even doing this stuff. And the real point is that here's the guy who's been in charge of locking us all down and is pushing these passports and all these things. And there's a real question of whether he actually helped to invent this germ that has killed millions of people and, killed more than 500,000 in our country and decimated our economy and led to all these new government restrictions on our liberty. And the thing is that we can all agree on is we'll never know the truth because there's no accountability in the U.S. government.
Would you
ever.
like to respond to that, Marie?
No, I mean, I'm just shocked to hear someone argue that Dr. Fauci might have helped create COVID. That is like taking conspiracy theories that Rand Paul is pushing to the nth degree. Has he been perfect?
Well,
no.
that's not true.
But let's
Listen,
focus here on
very
the fact that the Chinese government is the one. Don't interrupt me.
Okay, what
Let's
about
focus here on
what
the
about
fact that
EcoHealth
the Chinese
Alliance?
government is the one who hasn't given us information about this, and not on Dr. Fauci.
Okay, even Francis Collins, before he resigned, who was head of NIH, said that EcoHealth Alliance was 2 years delayed in submitting their reports because they did get research money to modify viruses, bat coronaviruses, to make them attached to human cells. So I know that there might be rhetorical gymnastics we could employ to change the definition of gain-of-function research, but there are plenty of people who have zero interest in politics who've had a big issue with this for years because of this very reason. And no, it's not a conspiracy theory, Marie. I mean, that's a strange political shield to throw up. This could be incredibly real, and the most terrifying part is it could happen to a greater degree and kill even more people, more than 5 million, because we don't know enough about it. China is stonewalling, and Fauci may have helped all of this happen. It's awful. And speaking of horrifying, President Biden still claiming his $3.5 trillion spending plan will cost nothing. What a great deal.
And absolutely screw you, mainstream media, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, CBS, and yes, you too, Fox.
Yeah, that's right. Screw you too, Fox. I think he left a couple out there. You see Kennedy's new hairstyle? She's so adorable. She looks like she really likes it. She's just beaming, isn't she? Her eyes are just on fire, man. Do I sound like I'm mad and crazy about that girl? She's the crazy one. Is like a moth to a flame, you know? It's always like that with me. Okay, where are we now? We were talking about taking a nice big bong hit. How about that, boys and girls? It's that time. And I'm ready. Are you ready, Boo Bear? He's always ready. Here we go. So nice. Oh, I was talking about the strawberry banana. It's from my summer garden. I didn't trim it all that. Man, it smells so good. I wish I could broadcast the smell. I did a horrible job. This is the Fast Buds. Okay, this is from Fast Buds seeds, and I did a horrible job. But oh man, it smells so good, and it's just kicking my ass. I mean, doing some stupid shit. I took a glass, not a glass, a bowl. I brushed Rufus's teeth last night, right? It was teethy brushing day, so I brushed Rufus's teeth last night, and I use a bowl of water to rinse the toothbrush out in, and as I'm brushing. It's not his favorite thing, so it can be kind of frustrating, it being not his favorite thing, but it needs to be done. He eats garbage all day long. I keep telling him, no more donuts, and he won't stop. He just like, more donuts. I want more donuts. So he's got to get his teethies brushed. Otherwise, his teeth would fall out of his head. Now, because it can be a little frustrating, I tend to have a bong hit before I go to brush teethies. And let's see. The phone's working. You can see the phone number, right? Since it can be a little frustrating, I tend to have a bong hit before I go to brush his teethies. So I brush teethies, and then I go to empty out the water bowl, the rinsing water bowl, and I literally, I dump the water all over the counter, right, in the bathroom. I keep the toothbrush in the bathroom. I dump the water all over the counter. And I mean, I'm not like, I set this thing down and I tipped it over, or I, accidentally poured a little bit. Literally, the sink is right in front of me, and I took the water, and held it out over the counter, and I dumped it. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I don't know. I figure it was the strawberry banana. So, kicking my ass. All right. So, that was Fauci puppies. Tomorrow we will talk more about Fauci puppies and some of the horrific experiments that are being done to them. The puppies, the beagle puppies. And it's so hard when you see like that clip, right? You see this Democratic pundit, I guess you would refer to her as, and she is clearly making excuses and trying to cover for Fauci. It's like, it becomes so incredibly clear. There's this one voice, and it's going, Fauci didn't lie. You're talking conspiracy theories. When they use this phrase, conspiracy theories, when you hear that phrase, you should know that you're right on mark, and it's making them so nervous that you're so close to the truth that they have to call you out as a conspiracy theorist. Oh, you're one of those, huh? Again, this label thing. This is one of these things that you don't want to do. You don't want to attach labels to people. You don't want to attach labels to yourself. Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, huh? A lot of people would probably wear that label fairly proudly. For me, it's just another label. There's been you have no idea how many labels people have tried to attach to me. I remember a Seattle police officer one time who was in the process of frisking me asked me if I was a deviant. And I was like, maybe. Because I knew that in his eyes, I would certainly be considered a deviant. I would, in his eyes, he also called me a stoner. He also asked me if I was a stoner. Are you a stoner? Yeah, it's Seattle, man. Everybody's stoner. So, labels. And again, you see this as a authority figure, a cop, trying to attach these labels to me. Deviant, stoner. And the reason he's attaching these labels to me is because the worse label he can attach to me, the more dehumanized I become. Like, it's not really affecting me, but in his brain, I become less and less of a human. So him abusing me in this way or that way is fine because I'm one of those, right? And this really, on one scale or another, is what people are all doing when they're attaching these labels, is that you're finding a way to disregard this person, to make this person less on the human scale. Go, oh, he's one of those. Don't have to pay attention. Not just gonna talk conspiracy theories. So, it's pretty obvious, it's pretty simple, it's not complicated to begin to understand who these people are. And when they use these phrases like this, when they start to throw out this, oh, you're one of those, right? Oh, I can't believe you're spreading these conspiracy theories. I'm shocked. I had a clip of one of CNN's news anchors over the weekend, and he said, I can't believe this. I'm shocked, and it was like the least amount of shock that anyone's ever experienced. It was like, I'm shocked. Really? Because none of us could ever tell by the way you're expressing yourself. You know, shocked. I'm shocked. This is an outrage, right? Not, I'm shocked. People. I'm shocked. I don't know. You see me when I start expressing myself. And you've heard even like people who've watched me for a long time. They say, "Oh, you're angry." I'm not angry. I'm really not. I laugh constantly. I'm passionate. You know, if I say I'm shocked, I'm going to say it for real. It's not a matter of anger. It's a matter of this is important, and I'm not going to hold myself back in expressing myself. That's passion. It's not anger. It's not negative. Positive. So I only have one video left, and we have absolutely no phone callers. And I just took a second fat dab, and it was nice. I'm really glad we had a chance to share that. What is wrong with this guy? I only have one video left, and we're not getting any phone callers. So I came here to show videos, take phone callers, you know, converse with phone callers, and smoke fat dabs. And I only have one video left. So if you'd like to have a discussion, this is going to be your last opportunity. Otherwise, I just feel like I'm talking at you guys. You know, and there's plenty of snarky little twats all over the YouTube that can talk at you all day and all night. I'd like to talk with you, and the truth is that if we had phone callers all night on into the day, I would do that all night. I wouldn't be a snarky little twat. I'd try and have a conversation with other people again, and I can go all night, and I would be happy to. I really would be happy to. That being said, I don't want to talk to one person for an hour, which we've done many times in the past. You know, and if we were to go all night, right? If we were to do like an 8-hour, 10-hour, 12-hour show, then, which I'm thinking about doing a marathon, what do you call it, a YouTube-a-thon? Not a marathon, call it telethon, YouTube-a-thon, I don't know. Tubathon. I'm thinking about doing a tubathon. What's up, G?
Hey, Mike. Happy Monday. How's your night going?
Yay.
Monday, and it fucking rained all day. I know you love the rain. Everyone loves the rain.
I love the northwest weather. I love the northwest weather. So.
But there were like 2,000 people without power in my town this morning.
Yeah. Well, we didn't have power. We didn't have power. They told us we weren't going to get power until Tuesday. We lost power yesterday at 2 p.m. And then
I didn't lose it until last night at about like 10 o'clock, but it was out for an hour or two. And a lot of people, it was out today. There were high winds yesterday.
Yeah, we were out for 8 hours, man. And and they were saying we weren't going to get power back until Tuesday. And we're like, fuck. How am I going to update the channel? Let people know.
there's a lot of those cedar leaflets and little needles on the ground.
Yeah, needles everywhere.
Yeah, they're everywhere. I wanted to say I watched those films that you recommended.
Oh yeah, which one? Which one?
I watched both of them. I watched the Richard Burton Elizabeth Taylor movie with Beau Bridges.
Yeah.
Called Hammersmith is Out.
Did you like it?
I also watched the Henry movie.
Hardcore Henry.
Yeah. So the first one, Hammersmith is Out, was pretty good. What was weird about it is Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton made a movie together about 5 years before that called Faust.
Yeah.
And it was based on the story of Faust.
Yeah.
And Hammersmith is Out is basically the Faust story.
Yeah.
Instead of Richard Burton playing Faust, he played the devil, which is Mephistopheles in the story.
Yeah.
And it was really clever. Kind of like how the guy didn't really understand what the stakes were, like Beau Bridges didn't really understand what the stakes were. He was kind of a dumb fuck. But how quickly he rose to power, and how quickly all of his dreams came true, of course only to discover that there's nothing really that meaningful in life.
Yeah.
That the real meaningful things in life are things that you can't own, which is ultimately the story of Faust, however it's told. On the stage, in a movie, in a book, whatever. That's the story. You can wish for something, and then once you attain it, you don't recognize what you sacrificed to get what you achieved.
Yeah, and there's a couple of really great movies, you guys. If you don't know the story of Faust, there's a couple of really, really great movies, and you have to search through them, or I can give you recommendations. But one of them I love, and I can't. I think it's a Czechoslovakian version. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Jean Svenkmeyer is the guy's name.
Yeah.
And it's called Faust, and it's puppetry.
Yeah.
So he does slow motion clips, like animation clips.
Yeah.
Where he'll move these puppets in claymation, tells the story of Faust.
Yeah, I love that movie. I love, if you're on mushrooms or whatever, oh man, that movie will blow your mind.
Will. And also the Hammersmith is Out movie, it's from 1974. It's also on YouTube. If people would like to watch it, they can find it there.
I had a really hard time finding it. That's cool you found it.
I didn't find it on the torrents, but I found it. Somebody uploaded it. It's because it was never released on DVD. Somebody had watched it and taped it on a VHS tape.
Yeah.
And then they uploaded the VHS tape to YouTube, and that's how I got to watch it. There was another movie I watched called Summer Tree with Michael Douglas, and it's about an anti-war activist who isn't really an activist. He's just an ordinary person, but he decides to not go to Vietnam. And it shows that Meathead is in it, Rob Reiner is in it, and a few other popular television actors are in it. And I looked for I saw the movie on television 20 years ago, and I looked for it, recently in the last 10 years on the internet. Sure enough, they never fucking released the movie on DVD.
Yeah.
So it was never uploaded. It was never shared with people. And it's a shame because it's an anti-war movie and it's one of Michael Douglas's earlier films. But the Hammersmith is Out movie, Mike, reminded me of that Silence of the Lambs a little bit,
Well, I told you it was about a serial killer.
Yeah, a serial killer who helps people when they get out of prison become famous and rich.
Yeah.
And anyway, there were a couple of other movies that it reminded me of. The other movie, the one about Henry, Hardcore Henry, that one reminded me of the film Memento. Memento, by Christopher Nolan.
That's the one where he forgets everything?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then he has to look at cues, like he writes shit on his body.
He tattoos stuff on his body.
And and the story is told backwards.
Yeah.
So that was a clever way to tell a story. But when I watched Hardcore Henry, obviously I figured out right away that the movie is told completely from a first-person perspective, and that's why the movie is unique. It's almost like the camera is glued into his head.
Yeah.
And every scene in the movie is from the perspective of that camera.
Right.
In the center of his head.
You're seeing through his eyes. Every scene, you're every single second of the movie, you're seeing through Henry's eyes. Go ahead.
And I looked for other films, and there is a category called films shot in the first-person perspective.
Hmm.
And there's only one other movie which I'm going to watch later tonight called Lady in the Lake. A Philip Marlowe story,
Yeah.
right, by Raymond Chandler, the famous writer, but Philip Marlowe, the detective, just like the Elliot Gould movie I watched 2 weeks ago. The movie is called Lady in the Lake, and the story is told from the first-person perspective of Philip Marlowe through the entire film from his eyes, from his perspective. But that's the only other movie.
Is that the one with Michelle Pfeiffer? I think she made a movie
No,
called
it's
Lady.
it's from 1947.
Yeah.
It was directed by Robert Montgomery, and it was the only film that he directed. He was a famous actor in the
So
1940s.
what did you think about Hardcore Henry?
So, Hardcore Henry. First of all, as a science fiction movie, it was very interesting, right? That you can maybe build bodies with machines that can think, and then you could maybe have an army of like the dead work for you, like that concept. That was kind of cool, like science fiction. The cinematography, I thought it was awesome. Like I said, seeing a movie, just the whole film from beginning to end from a first-person perspective, that was pretty cool. The acting was okay. Of course, the ultra violence. I'm not a big fan of that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a big part of that movie. And it was also a big part of that movie, Squid Game. And I'm not really a big fan of that, excessive gore,
Yeah.
like horror gore kind of thing. But it was okay. I mean, I could overlook that and still see the story that was going on.
I think as far as the objective of the movie, I think that the ultra violence is just a secondary thing. You know the scene where he blows up he's in the sidecar and they're driving down. He's like cutting fucking vans in half with a fucking belt-driven weapon. You know that scene? That was friggin' awesome.
Yeah.
And they drop a grenade and he flies off the fucking van onto another motorcycle. That was so cool.
Again, like the other film, Nobody, both movies were tied with the Russian mob, the Russian mafia, and like what is the power of organized crime, and whatever. It reminded me of the James Bond movies a little bit, right? Like where these transnational criminal organizations that are planning things like having armies of dead people that are half robots. That's something you kind of think about, like being in a James Bond movie. It was interesting, science fiction.
I think again the main objective though really wasn't the ultra violence. It was just this non-stop adrenaline ride, right? I mean, he has like from the minute he touches ground, he has 30 minutes to get to this one place, and then he's got constant gunfire around him, and you know what I mean? It's just this non-stop adrenaline rush, and then on top of that, it's shot from the guy's eyes, so it's just like. I think that's what it is. I think that's what they're really shooting for, not so much the ultra violence, because a lot of the ultra violence is to be somewhat shocking. You know what I mean? That's the whole point of the zombie movies and shit.
And also to be appealing to young people, right? Young people are more interested in that. Younger audiences, getting kids to go to the movies and watch these films.
Yeah. I think they're interested in the shocking part of it, certainly. I myself am not really interested in the gore anymore. I particularly don't like the screaming that goes along with the horror movies, for whatever reason. It just is icky. I don't want to watch that,
Well, I mean, there are other films that have used that technique of the camera, like on the eyes, like the person's face.
Sure.
Where you see through their brain.
Yeah.
Like the Matrix does that. Being John Malkovich is a movie that does that.
Yeah.
There are other movies that do that, especially when we're starting to get into this world of I have a pair of glasses on. And through my eyes and my brain, I can animate a automaton to do whatever I want to do. So as this technology becomes more prevalent, we're probably going to see more films from that first-person gaming kind of perspective. And that's almost like, first-person shooter games are like that as well, aren't they?
They absorb you into the game. This is, the movies that you mentioned, I don't think the whole thing is shot first. I know that the whole thing isn't shot first person. So, But yeah, they use that kind of cinematography. But this thing, again, where it's just this constant, you don't see movies like this very much. The Hardcore Henry. There's been a few of them. I can't immediately recall them. But this movie, there isn't like a lull in the action. It's just constant running from one place to the next, and just insanity going on all around them. And it's all shot first person. And myself, if I play video games, I can't play anyone that's not first person. If I can't see first person, the video game is meaningless to me. So, yeah, I become absorbed in one and just irritated by the other. So.
Well, I don't really play video games like that. So
I haven't done video games for quite some time. I haven't played a video game for about 5 years now. I have an Xbox sitting right over there. They're available on the Goodwill website, by the way, for about $15 if anybody wants an Xbox. So you know.
I'm sure there are thousands of games and units that people could find at thrift stores around America if they look for them.
I mean online, Goodwill.com. They have, $15 for an Xbox.
So anyway, it was an interesting. Both of those films were interesting. I just want to say thank you for the recommendations. There was one story that somebody mentioned. I think Kathy mentioned in the chat, and I don't know if you played a clip about it, but there was the Biden administration had an opportunity to release records relating to the John F. Kennedy assassination on this coming Tuesday, I think it was, or it would be like tomorrow. And they backtracked and said, no, maybe later, maybe in 6 weeks. And they didn't give an explanation or a reason, but the records were scheduled to be released on Tuesday. And then on Friday night, they said they would delay publication until at least December 15th, and maybe longer if Biden determines it's in the nation's best interest to keep them confidential.
Yeah.
And I'm reading from an article at Politico, and it says, it's an outrage against democracy, said Robert Kennedy Jr. We're not supposed to have secret governments within the government. How the hell is it 58 years later, and what in the world could justify not releasing these documents, said Robert F. Kennedy Jr. His cousin, former Rhode Island Representative Patrick Kennedy, said the records should be released not because of his family, but because American citizens have a right to know about something that left such a scar in the nation's soul and that lost not only a president, but the promise of a brighter future. And it goes on to talk about Biden's role in the Senate when they passed the John F. Kennedy assassination's record collection in 1992, and they said in 25 years they would release these records. And then President Trump in 2017 made a decision that he was not going to make all of the records public, and he made a pass. And he said, we'll talk about it in 4 years, in 2021, and it's now. Some of the documents, according to this article, it says an overwhelming majority of the 15,000 records in the question are from the Central Intelligence Agency and to a lesser extent the Federal Bureau of Investigations. Portions of them have been released with single words or entire pages blacked out, according to the National Archives. And the Kennedy family thinks that there might be extra evidence that they could use to bolster their case. And then they also mention that Robert Kennedy supports the conclusions that were reached by David Talbot, who is a writer who I'm familiar with, and he wrote a book called The Devil's Chessboard, which is about the CIA assassinating John F. Kennedy. And Robert Kennedy believes what David Talbot wrote in his book. So people are waiting for these documents, and Joe Biden has just pushed the date back to some ambiguous day in December, and that's just so that these historians can have access to this information and sift through it and see how it supports or negates different ideas that they have about the Kennedy assassination. And it's really fucked up that Joe Biden is blocking this, right? John Kennedy was a fucking Democrat president, right? Don't you think they'd want to know who really fucking killed him? Why would you hide that from the people?
That's their job, to hide everything from the people.
Yes. For 70 fucking years. for whatever, 60 odd years,
Yeah, this government's so corrupt and so evil. I'm gonna do a show coming up here about, is the U.S. government a scourge upon humanity? Because it's just spreading evil everywhere, and it just seems to do more evil every single day, and that's why it's so important that the people come together and take it down, because otherwise we just look like we're good with doing evil everywhere, and I don't think that most people are that way. I don't know.
Well, I wonder, I kind of go back and forth on that, Mike. On a certain level, I don't think people are intentionally malicious and mean. I don't think ordinary people who, whatever, they go to the grocery store, they take their family to a restaurant once a week or something, they watch television, they go to their job, their kids go to school, like that kind of whatever, family, right? I don't think that they're inherently evil. But collectively, when we all act as a huge organism, as our country, and we're directed by these weird, maniacal psychopaths that are typically people like Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, these super rich people, and the political leaders that they've bought and sold. And they determine how we think and how we live. And it's been that way for a long time, at least since the end of World War II. I'm pretty sure that our government has not been a republic, meaning that it's not a representative government. After World War II, I think that stopped.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
75 years of this is what we've been into it. And you and I were born way after that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we were born 20 years or so into it, when it was already there. So that's, I think, how deep the brainwashing is. I've thought that for a long time, but I really believe that the American public is brainwashed, and we use all of our efforts for a pretty evil thing, and that's to control the world. Control the world and control the world's markets. Control all the money that's spent by every fucking human being in the world. That's kind of like an American European banking project. They want power.
Controlling everything that goes on in the world seems to be a big part of it. Although they're obviously losing ground when it comes to that.
Yeah, it's a race, but they think they can win.
Well, it's one of these
guys at Goldman Sachs and stuff. They're smart.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, it's good to hear from you, man. I hope you're doing good this week so far. Your Monday's going okay, and
yeah, it's good. Well, it's nice to talk to you, Mike, and I hope you have a nice program.
All right, I'll talk to you later. I'll talk to you soon, I hope.
Yeah, you will. Bye-bye.
All right, see ya. Okay, so if you would like to call, the telephone number is up there on the screen. This is a call-in show, 805-669-6397. 805 Mox News. Okay, and like I said, I only have one video left, so if you want to call, now's the time to do it. And I do recommend both of those movies. Hammerstead is loose. Hammerstead is loose. It's a Richard Burton movie, and it's about a serial killer who escapes an insane asylum. And like he was saying, it's a kind of a new take on the Faust story, which I love the Faust story. If you don't know the Faust story, that's a very good read. Or there's numerous movies about Faust, and my favorite one being a Czechoslovakian movie. I believe Chris just told us is Jens Finkmeyer movie, who he's made a number of really, really good movies. So I think Delicatessen is his movie. I'm not positive, but it might be. So that version of Faust I love, and it's very trippy. So if you're dropping a tab or eating some mushrooms, Jackie Cat, you might enjoy it very much. I think it's a little bit mind-blowing for the tripping, so that's the kind of thing you're looking for. Also, Tom Thumb, the Jens Finkmeyer dude, Tom Thumb, really good claymation. I bet he did do that also. Really good claymation. Okay, I don't have any phone callers. I am good on having puffs. I do have one video left. I am going to play that video for you now, and we'll be back in a minute. See if anybody wants to call. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll be back momentarily.
I just can't believe what I heard this weekend. Is it me, or did former President Barack Obama just try and flip the script on conservatives again? Listen to the former president spew some total linguistic garbage.
We don't have time to be wasting on these phony, trumped-up culture wars, this fake outrage that right-wing media peddles to juice their ratings, and the fact that he's willing to go along with it instead of talking about serious problems that actually affect serious people, that's a shame. That's not what this election's about. That's not what you need, Virginia.
Trumped-up, fake, phony outrage. Is it me, or is the former president trying to do some serious damage control for the leftists running the country into the ground? I mean, I didn't know that raping a girl in the girls' bathroom of a Virginia high school will be considered trumped-up outrage.
Our daughter was sexually assaulted in her high school bathroom by a boy wearing a skirt. We were notified that it was that our daughter had been beat up by a boy in the bathroom. And when we arrived at the school, we found out that that wasn't the case.
That was Scott Smith. That was the father. I'm outraged about all that. And Obama, you said it from Virginia, the same state that you are speaking from, campaigning for a governor wannabe who lies about everything that comes out of his mouth. And I didn't know that when the superintendent of that school of the alleged rape happening denied knowing the girl's attack even happened. Listen to this.
To my knowledge, we don't have any records of assaults occurring in our restrooms. We've heard it several times tonight from our public speakers, but the predator transgender student or person simply, it does not exist.
Now that's a lie. That's a direct lie. The police told us that's a direct lie. I didn't know that directly lying to the family of that poor girl and to the other parents in the county, and especially to the parents of a second girl allegedly raped by the same thuggish boy wearing a skirt in the school you simply moved him to instead of the school he was in. A couple of weeks later, by the way. Somehow that's trumped up outrage. I didn't know that calling parents who don't want their kids learning debunked theory on race that's more successful at dividing children than teaching children, calling those parents domestic terrorists. Somehow, a concerned parent is a domestic terrorist, and that is trumped up outrage. Oh, and call me crazy, but I didn't know, but lying about funding a China lab was okay.
An animal virus and you increase its transmissibility to humans, right. You're saying that's not gain of function?
Yeah, that is correct. And Senator Paul, you do not know what you are talking about.
We're saying they are gain of function viruses because they were animal viruses that became more transmissible in human, and you funded it.
And you
admit the truth.
You are implying that what we did was responsible for the deaths of individual. I totally resent that. And if anybody is lying here, Senator, it is you.
What's all that? Look at this. Watch. What's this? He's so proud of himself. Problem is, Fauci, you lied. And we know you lied. And lying about funding a China lab that leaked the deadly virus that killed 600,000 Americans, somehow questioning Fauci is trumped up outrage. While we're at it, I didn't know that it wasn't okay to be upset about Fauci funding a lab that debarks beagle puppies and tortures them until they die.
We recently got documents back from NIAID, Anthony Fauci's division, showing that he's funded a series of incredibly cruel and wasteful experiments on dogs. Most recently, the experiments we exposed involved a $1.68 million contract to inject dogs with experimental drugs. First, as you mentioned, they debark them. They do what's called a cordectomy, where they rip out their vocal cords so they can't bark and make noise in the lab. Then they injected them and force-fed them experimental drugs for a few months and then killed them.
But somehow that's trumped up outrage to be against that. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that being upset about these images of masks being taped to children's foreheads in order to perpetrate your left-wing mask tyranny was trumped-up outrage. Or when you, Mr. Obama, while demanding we wear masks and calling others against science if we didn't wear a mask, despite that you partied like it's 1999, no masks. But that's somehow trumped-up outrage again. And excuse me, Barack Obama, while you and your pals demanding we fire cops and fire firefighters for not taking Fauci's jab, the same folks who saved the country last year by risking their lives for the safety and security of regular Americans, for that, watch.
So, I'm being escorted out of UCLA for standing up for medical freedom, despite coming to work.
You want to fire nurses, too? That was a nurse who was right here on that show. Right, our nurses who risk their own lives and health to save the lives of you and your liberal pals are getting fired, too. And somehow, I'm not really mad. It's simply some trumped-up outrage. No, trust me, I'm really mad about it, and so are a lot of Americans. Are you seriously saying this? And I had no idea that you would say that my disdain for that humiliation General Milley, who allowed the Taliban to pal up with ISIS, and the result was 13 dead American service members, would be trumped-up outrage. And that clown taking to the airwaves to somehow say he did nothing wrong. Watch.
Were there others killed? Yes, there are others killed. Who they are, we don't know. We'll try to sort through all that. But we believe that the procedures at this point, I don't want to influence the outcome of an investigation, but at this point we think that the procedures were correctly followed and it was a righteous strike.
Righteous strike. By the way, that righteous strike, they didn't kill any terrorists in that righteous strike, only kids and innocent civilians. Trumped up outrage. While we're at it, I didn't realize that crime running rampant through American cities like this. Polo store. And this. Running through malls, stealing stuff. That's just Trump. That blood rising, the pressure rising, it's not real. It's just trumped up outrage. No, sir, no offense, but screw you, Obama, Biden, Fauci, the school boards, Merrick Garland, Pelosi, the snowflake generals, and the rest of you liberal leftists who are trying to steal our liberties and our freedoms for demanding control over anyone who doesn't fall in lockstep with your tyrannical, totalitarian demand for a capitulation. Screw you all for trying to change this great country, which is still a democratic republic as far as I can tell, and turning it into a liberal, snowflake, woke wasteland.
Woke wasteland. You know, I don't hear a lot of commentators or news channels where they're talking about screw you. Again, he wasn't saying it with the passion that I would say it, and maybe that's partially how he's getting away with it. Screw you, Obama, and screw you too. You know, like screw you, motherfucker. Passion. And that's what I guess is what's really lacking from today's journalist, besides journalistic integrity, is that there's no, like, we're going to get these motherfuckers, you know, like Watergate. What were those motherfuckers' name? It's just, I don't see maybe I'm wrong. I mean, like Glenn Greenwald with Eric Snowden, you know, that took some balls, I think. I think that took a lot of balls. And we just don't see a lot of fucking journalism like that, you know? And it should be pretty much, with our fucked up government, with our fucked up world, this kind of journalism should be like an everyday thing, where people are going out and they're like exposing the reality of the government lying to us. You know, why aren't there whistleblowers? Chris from Olympia was just talking about the Kennedy files that are supposed to be released on Tuesday that Biden's pushing back release of. You know, there's got to be whistleblowers around. I mean, I'm sorry, not necessarily whistleblowers, but there are people who know what the occupants of those files are. And where are those people? I mean, there must be a lot of them that are reaching this age where, you know, it's not really that important if someone takes them down, you know, because a lot of them, I know my dad, who I've told you was, you know, one of these, you know, special ops kind of people. He had a friend who had a tape of the assassination, and he was always like, you know, they would do clandestine shit together. Hello, caller.
Hi, how are you?
Fine.
I got a question for you.
Okay.
And I'll take some questions back, but I've been thinking about some of the press secretaries, and I was wondering if you have any thoughts on the cadence of which they speak, and it's almost unnatural, you know, the way they cover up some of these things and twist it.
Oh yeah, they speak with a completely forked tongue. It's pretty much nothing they say. I did a show a few weeks ago in which the title, well, the thumbnail had a picture of George Carlin, and it said, I live by a few rules. First rule is I don't trust anything the government tells me. So that's just a really good standpoint to move forward from there. That being said, a lot of these people actually do talk in a strange manner. The politicians, the journalists, they go to these particular trainings after they become elected or they become, you know, high profile, and they're taught to speak in this particular way, which induces a type of hypnosis, honestly. You know, it just kind of makes people somewhat tune out and be like, start drooling, you know, it's like... So, it's like this, I'm sorry, it's like this rhythmic kind of thing, where, you know, it fucks with your head. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it is rhythmic, and it's, I've been wondering if there is a sort of school for it, because it's almost as if they're pausing, saying an ah, and then they move to these sort of power words that mean nothing.
Right.
Like must, and we are, and we'll circle back, and they're just empty and hollow.
Yeah. I have a video of William Rodriguez. If you type William Rodriguez into my my YouTube uploads, you'll find a story. They call him, or he refers to himself as the last man out of the Twin Towers. And he tells an amazing fucking story about that day. And he talks about how when well, they were trying to like groom him to be a politician, because he was becoming more and more high profile with speaking at things and stuff, engagements and such. And he said one of the first things they did was sent him to this place where they explained how to speak. And he said that all the politicians have to go there before they're allowed really, after they're elected, they have to go and do this before they're really allowed to say a word on the floor. So, do you know that?
In my mind is,
do you know who that is, William Rodriguez?
I don't.
Yeah.
I need to look him up.
It's a really worthy watch. What's that?
Can you tell me the name one more time?
It's William Rodriguez. Yeah.
Wait, the name of the piece, Last Man Out?
Last Man Out, yeah. Yeah, he came to Seattle, and I went to see him, and they were like in a room at the Seattle Center, and he was basically setting everything up for his speech, and we got there a little bit early. And I came in, and I had a camera on a tripod, and he comes over, and he says, you know, he says, we don't allow cameras during the presentation. You know, we don't want anybody filming everything. And I said, well, can I talk with you after the presentation and ask you a few questions on camera? And he said, sure, that'd be great. And he walked away, and then he came back and he said, what organization are you with? And I said, oh, I have a YouTube page called C-SPAN Junkie. And he starts jumping up and down and waving his hands like, you're the C-SPAN Junkie? I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, you can go ahead and film. Let's set you up right here in the middle and just set your camera on the tripod and you go ahead and film. And then people came in, right, after, like, for the beginning of the presentation, and the room's packed, and he said, no one is allowed to film. And people with cameras got up and left. And I sat there filming the whole thing. I thought that was very interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It's been a very strange life.
It has been an incredibly strange life, and I'm not a native Oregonian, but I moved here in '92, and I have lived in rural areas, and I have lived in downtown Portland. Matter of fact, I completed a bachelor's degree at Portland State.
Right on. I love Oregon.
I have been, I absolutely love it, and every day the question is, what do we do? Those of us who love this state, I think, are trenching down, but it's just unbelievable. I'll put it this way: the conversations. They'll just bury you in conversations and nothing.
Yeah.
It's something done around here.
It's the division. People have just wholeheartedly bought into this division. Like those people are the problem. And that's just so simple. The problem is our leadership. And when I say our leadership, I'm not talking about this little group of people's leadership or this little group of people's leadership. It's our leadership. Every single person in this country and most everybody around the world is being misled. And it's being done by corrupt people. It's being done purposely, and it's being done in order to make an advantage for them somehow. Make money, make power, whatever it is. So that's the real problem. And if we could just recognize what the real problem is, that we've been misled for the last 20 years at least, we have this thing to rally around. But they buy into this division. They're like, oh no, this is the good side. No, we're the good side, And I get it. I mean, you want to think good things about your country. You want politicians that you could believe in. People are so desperate for politicians that they believe in. They go, oh, this one's one of the good ones. When there's no good ones, It's like, yeah, I'm desperate for cops that I can believe in. And I'm not saying that there's no good ones. The problem is the so-called good ones cover up for the bad ones, which makes me question how good the good ones are. I want all these people. I want the pillars. I want a medical industrial complex I can believe in wholeheartedly. When they give me a pill or some recommendation, I want to know, I want to believe in that. When they say, oh, you have to get this vaccine, otherwise, you're not protected properly. I want to believe them. The problem is, my experience is, I can't believe the medical industrial complex. I've watched cops lie and lie and lie about shooting a 12-year-old. I can't believe the police. I can't believe the politicians. The religion is completely fucked up. All the pillars of our community are completely full of shit. So why can't the people see that we're just simply being misled and come together on this one issue? It's just ridiculous that they can't see this.
I'm right there with you. And, on a personal level, I went in to see a physician, and I had not seen this physician before. And he recommended, based on some mild back pain, that I should get on an antidepressant. And how fast they are to feed you some sort of profitable drug is just unbelievable. When we live in this great state where, thank goodness, the minds have been open to things like medical marijuana, but you know, to push things like, you know, these industrial drugs, especially when there's almost no context. You know, it feels like a cheap money grab.
Yeah, I want to. I have a neurologist appointment in the next 2 weeks, right? And I want to go. I'm really looking forward to it, which is strange, but it's because I can go in and I can talk to this doctor, right? And I tell this doctor, look, I have this. I want you to understand where I'm coming from. And I want to tell him that I have this strange experience with you, that I actually genuinely feel like you have genuine concern for me. I haven't really experienced that from a doctor before. Now, that being said, I want to explain to you where it is I'm coming from. Now, you have tried to get me into a CPAP machine, recently, and I know you said you use a CPAP machine, and I want to make sure you know that there's been a giant recall of CPAP machines just in the last few months because they're apparently causing liver damage, kidney damage, heart damage, and lung damage. So for the last year, I've been telling you I don't want a CPAP machine. The last time I saw you a month ago, you were trying to still get me into a CPAP machine. So I guess I was right. You know, again, I think that you're really concerned and you really want to help me. Now, you were telling me that I need to get vaccinated. I don't want to get vaccinated. I explained that to you. And, and now I see this report from the Swedish Public Health Agency, which says the majority of COVID-19 deaths in September in Sweden was fully vaccinated people. Okay, so maybe I'm right not getting the vaccine, and I just want to explain to him, I really appreciate you. You need to see where I'm coming from. You need to understand it. You need not to think that it's not some type of uneducated viewpoint. You know what I mean? And I'm really looking forward to explaining that to him.
You know, you hit so many good points there, because one thing you hit on is the rarity of the medical complex having the time to actually connect with a person.
Mm-hmm.
And to feel like, you actually connect with your doctor, because fundamentally, I think what we're experiencing is trust has completely evaporated.
Yeah.
And the vaccines are a great way to look at that too, because freedom is the ability to say no.
Yeah. Right.
And the mandates have gone yet. And I personally feel like I got duped. And I'm going to say that I'm a late waker here, but I've woken up, and I'm fully vaccinated, not with the booster, okay? But I took it under the premise that we could continue to travel and go back to normal.
Yeah.
I was sold a bag of goods.
Yeah.
I was sold a bag of goods, and now I'm seeing the effects. I started, I woke up to the various data.
Yeah, I see. I'm a little concerned, not for myself. Like I said, I'm not going to do that. And I'm going to actually, when I see my neurologist, I'm going to ask him. I'm going to say, I'm not asking you to do this. I'm asking if you have the ability to give me a medical exemption, because I would like to know if that's something that doctors do, because I want one. And you know what, this neurologist, I went to him, I called him on the phone. My medical cannabis script was expiring. And I said, hey, I need to get my medical authorization renewed, and would my doctor do that for me, my neurologist? And I got his assistant, and she talked to me for 15 minutes trying to figure out all the details, right? And then she calls me back like an hour later, and she says, yeah, he doesn't do that. Right? And then I go in and I see him like a month ago, and I'm talking to him, and he says, do you have any questions for me? And I said, how come you won't sign my medical cannabis authorization? He says, because I don't do that. He said, I've never done that before. He said, what do you need it for? He said that, there's legal weed everywhere. Why do you need this? And I said, well, some doctors are prescribing it for epilepsy, which is what I was just diagnosed with. And he looks at me and he says, yeah, but you can get it everywhere. Why do you need this? And I said, oh, well, they won't let me grow weed at home. And he says, all right, for you, I'll do it, you know? So this is the first time he's ever done it, you know, and I just am like, it's really interesting. You know, I've asked other doctors to do this for me, and they're like, no. And I find it really interesting because, you know, he's top of his field, and these other doctors, you know, they act like no, and then they make me go to like an herbalist or something like that, you know, some kind of like a voodoo doctor person to get my script. And it's just like, yeah, well, I got it, you know, and it makes it all seem kind of hinky, you know. But now I have like a real doctor sign off on it, and I feel it almost makes me feel even more. I've always felt like the medical script, that little piece of paper, protects me even more than a gun, because I'm protected from the police, you know. And you can't use a gun to protect yourself from the police, except for last whatever. That's your last choice, is to use a gun, please. I'm sorry, I do go on. Oh, we lost him. He must have lost interest in listening to me. I hope I didn't, I don't think I hung up on him. Sometimes when I shake the desk, the phone hangs up. Anyways, I do go on. I am really glad about the neurologist. I'm really glad about him making me feel like I actually have someone that's concerned, because I haven't experienced, not someone that's concerned, but a doctor who's genuinely concerned. I don't think that I've experienced that before. And so I'm really looking forward to telling him this shit about the CPAP machine. And if anybody out there is using a CPAP machine, which I guess is fairly common, you need to look into a CPAP machine recall, because it's pretty messed up, the reason that they're recalling those machines. And I can't wait to point that out to my neurologist, who just recently told me he uses a CPAP machine. And I'm like, dude, you know what they're doing, that there's a recall on all the CPAP machines, right? To see how up to date my doctor really is. All right. As I said in the past, and I will definitely say again sometime in the future, I come here to play news clips and smoke fat dabs and talk with phone callers. And I don't have, actually I have some nice fat dabs, but I've already done plenty of that for the time being. Which means we do this every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific times 7 p.m. Pacific times. We do this every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific time. Which means, no, wait. Let me do this again. We do this every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific time, which means we'll be back tomorrow, same Mog's time, same Mog's channel, and until then, stay cool, because one of these days, this war is gonna end. I hope. Stay cool till then.
Sometimes life can be a little overwhelming. Sometimes the weight of the world can be too much to bear. Sometimes you need to stop worrying and take a deep breath. Sometimes you need cannabis. Introducing Brightside, high-quality cannabis delivered right to your door. Brightside offers an extensive menu of strains and products to meet your needs. Choose the experience you want, and we'll send you the dankest herb, the real sticky icky. Some top-shelf marijuana. If you like what we send you, keep the whole jar. We'll even include some nugs for you to blaze. As part of Discovery, you'll get to try new strains and products. Side effects may include euphoria, increased appetite, uncontrollable giggles, elevated sensitivity to musical dopeness, and reduced anxiety. Tetrahydrocannabinol may also induce feelings of existential well-being and relentless optimism. With a Brightside subscription, you can get it once a month, once a week, or whenever you want. All at a price you'll like. And yes, this is a real company.
Do you know who I am? You're the wizard.
Ask your doctor if cannabis is right for you. It probably is. Keep it Brightside.
I mean, this coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other. They stay united. I wish the coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other. They stay united. Coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other. They stay united. Coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other. They stay united. Coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other. They stay united. Coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other. They stay united. Coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other. They stay united. Coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other. They stay united. Coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other.
No matter which mouth you feed on a two-headed snake, it still shits the same turd. But lucky for you, you have Mox News. More than 10 years. More than 60,000 videos. Mox News has been filtering the nonsense and illuminating the bullshit from your mainstream media. Turn off your TV and turn on to Mox News. For over a decade, documenting the socio-political events that have etched and carved the pathways that define today's modern mess, Mox News has been providing clarity while faithfully bringing you today's relevant stories 100% commercial-free and subscription-free. And just like Lady Liberty vows to remain free. But at this time, we're asking you for your help, your patronage, and your support to keep the lights on and the videos rolling. For less than 17 cents per day, you can become a basic subscriber, knowing that your donation is truly making a difference that will help continue bringing the news stories that make a difference in your life. Turn on, tune in, and drop a couple dimes today by clicking the link below or visiting moxnews.com and show your support at any level. From a single one-time donation or dedicated monthly subscriber, do it now in less than 2 minutes. All donations are safe, securely processed, and verified using PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, or Discover Card. As always, we're sure you'll find something of interest each and every day. This holiday season, give the gift of Mox. moxnews.com.